Okay, hello everybody. There seems to have been a network issue at my end. So I'm going to wait for our guest to join in again. And while we wait, today's topic is going to be a pretty interesting one. It's about agency life and how you can get started in an agency. Hey, hi Mayur.
Hi. Hi, Devika. Hi.
Hi. All right, we have a few more folks still joining in, but for everybody who's joined in, we're going to be talking about agency life and how you can get started with a career in agencies. Today we have with us Mayur, who has more than a decade of experience living that agency life. He's worked in different sectors, from small boutique agencies to large network agencies. He's worked on sectors such as BFSI, pharma, education, real estate, and the list goes on. His journey has been a pretty interesting one, right from an account manager to being a sales-driven business head at Allo Creative in Mumbai. And his most recent role of being my husband, I think, tops is the cherry on the cake. So thanks, Mayur, for joining. Um,
Thanks,
uh,
Devika, for having me. And it's a great platform that you've provided people, who are looking to join this mad marketing industry that we are part of. And I wish that when we started off, something like this existed that is so helpful, has so many resources. And I mean, back then it was just publishers, and you have to Google and read and about anything that you want to know, right? But this kind of hands-on help was not a platform like this didn't exist back then. So it's great. Thank
Right.
you so much for
Thank
having me.
you. So on that note, you've been in this space since 2011, and obviously there have been a lot of changes, not just in terms of trends in marketing and what platforms are there, but also in terms of, the career path, the life, and business and growth and all of that. So let's talk about, what changes have you seen in this space, and what the character arc of, agency life and marketing has been like.
Right. So in terms of the overall broader level landscape, I would say that it's definitely become a lot more competitive, right? I mean, back when we started, and compared to now, when there are, I guess, 6,000 agencies in Mumbai itself, right? So back then it was the start, and even clients were, a bit, not open, but they were still doing it. It's something new, but there was a fear of the unknown. And cut to now, when digital marketing has evolved to an extent where there are specializations in marketing itself, and there are and clients are so open to digital marketing only because there's so many things to do. It promises sales, reach, your everything, right? So
Yeah.
so in that sense, it's evolved very well because the new generation is online a lot more, right? Which then also helps brands reach out to them, in every way. Now there is, clients have a focus on lead gen, especially, right? If it's a product, or if it's something like in the education sector or something like that, where they want to sign up students. So digital becomes a very crucial part for them to drive admissions, right? I mean, you're reaching out to the Gen Z, or the younger part of the crowd who's online so much, right? We all know that online usage has blasted.
Yeah.
So in that sense, a lot has evolved, a lot has become a lot more advanced, things like that. In terms of the organization structure in agencies, I would say that it's become a lot more layered. There are many levels in a typical org structure. What we saw back then was, okay, we join as a social media executive, or someone at the lower level who also has to write copy, who also has to manage the client, or who also has to manage the posting and things like that, right? Very executional stuff, but everything combined in that role, right? Where today you see there is a social media manager who manages your pages, the community, the entire maybe the response manager as well. And then there are copywriters who are specifically there for writing copy, the ideation bit, the content that will go out, right? And then there's the account manager who might do your client servicing, manage the whole show, and things like that. Of course, we'll speak more in detail about the structure, but it's become a lot more layered, right? In that sense. So,
Yeah.
while it was less complex, now it's become more complex, hence more specializations and more people and more layers needed to manage every part of the show.
Yeah, which is great in a sense actually because it means that there's that much opportunity, and it's something that I often talk about in my workshops or the mentoring sessions that I host, that brands are spending 20 to 30% of their entire marketing budgets just on social media. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about any other avenues, right? Just in terms of like the scope that you mentioned, it's so wide. Like we're talking about crores of rupees being invested in these channels. Like you said, there are multiple teams and layers, and one person doing one thing versus I remember like back in the 2010s, I would write the copy, I would talk to the client, I would post it myself. Sometimes I would boost it myself. And I mean, it's changed so much. There are like you said, like people doing this specifically. So I think in terms of growth, it's been great. Now that we've spoken about the industry, I actually, and you might have also mentored folks at marketinglaunchpad.co, that you've come across that should we start in an agency? Should we start in the brand side? What are the differences? Where will I learn more? Where will I grow more? So people have a lot of those questions. So let's talk about how should somebody, experienced or a fresher, just start in an agency? What is an ideal path, or how do they just get started up, even in terms of application or going through that entire process?
I mean, absolutely. Yeah. In terms of what you said about the layers being there, there are so many specializations. So I would strongly recommend that in the early part of your career, you're working in an agency, right? You join an agency, you see all of these aspects play out from a more executional level as well, right? I mean, it's starting from the bottom and then to the top, right? You don't start from the middle and then I mean, your base will not be strong in terms of the knowledge that you have, right? In terms of the things that you've seen, experienced, like every aspect. So now it's so complex that an agency has all those teams, focusing on each part, like for performance marketing, for SEO, for copywriting, for design, right? And whichever specialization or interest that you want to join into, it's just a very it's strongly suggested that you start with an agency and then learn the ropes of every aspect of digital marketing, build your base, and then in the later parts of your career, it's advisable to join a brand side, right? Where, okay, maybe from digital, you also experience other parts of marketing, other aspects of marketing, like, it's traditional or, all these other
Yeah.
offline and things like that, right? Events and things like that. So, and then you're able to manage all of these agencies, have more experience, have that maturity to deal with so many people, even in the corporates as well as
Yeah.
on the agency side, right? Managing your agencies. So there is a certain level of experience and definitely mental growth that is needed for you to be on the brand side and to be handle corporate culture. Maybe your corporate has a lot of politics going on, right? As a fresher or as a youngster, you might not be able to handle that, right? So there are all those aspects that come in where it's suggested you start off with an agency, build your profile, learn as much as possible, and then head on to the brand side.
Great. All right. So I'm going to take a couple of questions. We have Apurva sharing some very important questions. Should freshers begin in small to mid-sized agencies or big network agencies? Your take.
That's a great question and so important because people usually think that okay, a big network agency will help me have a brand on my resume and help me grow faster. But I wouldn't look at it that way, right? A smaller or a mid-size agency, if you join that, you'll get to learn a lot more because you're doing a lot more, right? Learning by doing is the best way to learn something. So, and while in a network agency, you have a larger team. You have people to take care of all the aspects of your work, right? So, in that sense, it's just advisable that the more you're exposed to on an executional level in a smaller agency, it's just better. There is stronger learning and your base is stronger, as I said.
I think you just get to get your hands dirty, do all the work that you would have
Absolutely,
otherwise
absolutely.
done in a network agency, and then grow from there. Uh,
100%.
all right, we have another one. How's the career trajectory as an account manager?
I'm sorry, how's the?
Career trajectory as an account manager, like as an account manager,
Right.
what's the career path right ahead in front of you?
Correct. So, I mean, you start off as an account executive or a social media executive, and you work your way up to becoming an account manager. And doing well in that role is so important, right? It's such a crucial role in an agency because you're the face of the agency. You're dealing with clients. You're managing the entire show, managing multiple teams in the agency. You have to ensure everything's on time and with good quality. So it's such an important role. You're an enabler of the talent in people, right? Basically, an account manager enables copywriters, designers, and the artists to come up with great work, which just works, right? So from there, there's a great there's great prospects, right? Because if you choose to go on the sales more on the sales side, then you try to become a business head kind of thing, right? That's your ultimate goal to, drive revenue for the agency, right? You build a good network and get more new clients in. If you want to stick to account management, then of course there's account director, there's group head, and all of those positions that where your team expands and you're looking at the larger level stuff, talking to CXOs and I mean, so the prospects are great, right, for both the avenues, and and hence, I mean, it's a great role to be in.
Yeah, I think the learning's definitely a lot more. And let's say as a account manager versus, maybe a social media manager or a paid media manager, whatever, right?
Yeah,
The shift to, let's say, a brand side or a bigger agency or whatever it may be, even consulting or freelancing, which is, a trend now. Um, is really great because you learn not just the skills or the technical skills that you need for marketing. You also learn the soft skills of how to talk to clients, how to get things done, billing, and so
absolutely.
on. So account management definitely offers, I think, great avenues. There is a question from Vishnu. Hey, I would like to know how to get more engagement to Facebook posts. I get best results in Instagram, but when it comes to Facebook, it's struggling. Any tips? Vishnu, for this, I think it'll be best you DM us. This is not relevant to the subject of our life today, so I'm gonna move past this one.
It's a
Um,
whole other life that is needed
yeah.
for content and
Yeah.
how to make it work.
Okay, before I come to the other questions that are there, we've, all heard of the agency life. There are critiques, there are jokes. People talk about, how good it is or how bad it is. Um, and, there's a lot said about, this hashtag agency life. So let's start with, the pros of, working in an agency. And what do you think those are?
Right. So, again, I mean, as I said, joining an agency will give you exposure to all of the specializations that are, available for you in digital marketing, right? So, you can see every team at work and you're getting real-time exposure as to, okay, what does this specialization or field entail? Be it graphic design or copywriting, performance marketing, SEO, all of those things, right? So there's a lot of exposure for your career prospects. Now, in terms of exposure to different brands, there's businesses, different people that you're talking to, different people that you're working with, their own ideologies. There's B2B businesses, there's B2C businesses. I mean, suddenly you're working on something as something very boring to something like diapers or mattresses or things like that, right? So it's a
Yeah.
whole lot of exposure in terms of the clients that you have and the brands that you're working on. Apart from that, I would definitely say working hard. It's tough being in the service business. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth it in terms of the soft skills that you learn, as you were talking about, right? Working hard is something that you definitely learn because clients can just come up at the last minute with a brief or a requirement. The requirement could be extensive, and you have to just get down and put your head to it and
There
just
is
start
always
working.
emergency and everything is needed yesterday.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. To that, I mean, there is diplomacy that's needed, right? How do you tackle a situation where you really can't, or not able to meet the deadline, right? And that deadline could be unrealistic, and hence you're not able to meet it. So how do you appease the client and keep things calm still? There's problem solving, there's quick decision making because you're on a call with a client and the client just pops up with a new problem that they have, right? How do you think of something instantly and get them to solve the problem or you solve the problem for them? Right, so that's that quick thinking and just having a mindset where you want to help people, help your clients is always great, right? That's the right way to be in an agency. Any other way and you're going to have a lot of problem, right? You're going to fight with your colleagues, you're going to fight with your clients. It's a toxic work environment, all of that. So
Right.
yeah, I think those are the pretty much the pros of working in an agency.
On that note, let's talk about the cons.
Oh, cons, yeah, of course. So
I know there might be many,
the
but let's limit it to a
right.
few.
So, so the other side, the dark side of working hard is work-life balance. I mean, how do you find time to meet your clients' every requirement and yet have time to spend with your family or your friends or things like that, right? I think the way you look at it is early in your careers, you just work hard and learn as much as you can because in the long run, that's going to help you a lot. Something that you
Yeah.
learn today, you might not realize that how useful it is, but later on in your career, say 5, 7, 10 years down the line, you're going to definitely value it, right? I have experienced that literally. So that is one. The second is you. There's always pressure. There's always something urgent. There's always something last minute. So experiencing pressure and dealing with that, yeah, you can say it's a pro that you get to experience it and you are, you become stronger in a way.
Yeah.
But it's also a con, right? Because if you're not able to handle pressure, then mental health and all of those issues come in, which obviously should take priority over anything else. And then, of course, being more relevant to where we are, Indian clients, their lack of boundaries, of course, a subset of work-life balance, but them messaging or calling you at any time
Yeah.
and expecting you to be available for them. I mean, it's a con of a service, any service business, right? Especially in India. So that's something that you have to be prepared for and be able to, cope with.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think these are pretty much the cons, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're not, it tells you if it's your cup of tea or not. And I mean,
Absolutely.
speaking of the cons, and the timings, like I always had this one client when I was working in an agency who would either call me before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Which are working hours for nobody, right? But then you had to
Correct.
take it, you had to talk over weekends, holidays, and um, I think that's just one of the cons that I also faced in that phase of my
Been
career.
there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to take a few more questions now. We have one from Khushbu. How many people work for a client in an agency? So team
So it
size.
really, yeah, yeah. So it really depends. Typically, I would say around 4 to 5, given the scope of work that's decided with the client, how big the client is for the agency. So for example, there will be an account executive or an account manager. There's a social media manager. There's a copywriter, a designer, and of course the involvement of their seniors to some extent. So you see 5, 7 people is the typical number, but then of course I've been in agencies where the retainers are so big that they have a dedicated team of say 15 or 20 people in the agency working on any requirement that that brand comes up with, right? So it really varies on scope of work and how big the client is for the agency.
Yeah. Fair enough. There's another one from Apurva. How do you go about growing the agency business?
Oh wow, okay, that's a tricky one because I mean, in my experience, you're best placed, I feel, to grow a business if you've been in an account management role, right? Typically, because you face clients, you've built your network, you work with so many people. So, growing an agency business, obviously, one part is to get new clients, but the other part is also hiring, right? Getting good people on board. So, which
Yeah.
means if you've worked with some great people over your years of work experience, you can always try to get them back to work with you in your agency. The other side is you're getting new clients, right? So, if you work with clients who've, I mean, already, right, you can always go back to them and tell them, like, look, I am part of this agency or I've started this agency. Let's work together again. I know your brand. I know what you need. We have a good rapport, so why not,
So
right?
network plus. I mean, that's like the
Network,
step
network,
one.
definitely, definitely. So network and referrals play a big part in
Yeah.
converting clients faster, right?
Yeah.
Apart from that, your typical sales techniques like cold calling, cold emailing. But then what's important for that is finding the right people, finding the right brands. You don't want to bite more than you can chew, right? So you want
Yeah.
to reach out to brands or clients that your team is capable of serving in terms of the size, maybe not the ability. They have the best of abilities, but you don't just have enough people right now. You're in that phase. So all these factors combined, and I think it's a great way to grow an agency in India.
All right. We have a comment from Pyle. Help me help you, like Jerry Maguire said. True that. There is one from Mala. What should be the first step to go about if a person is considering to start an online agency? And I will
Hmm,
extend that to, agency plus like consulting. A lot of people are
right.
exploring path, and we did a live on that. But some tips or something that you can share on those lines.
Correct. So, as I said, two aspects of growing an agency. One is, do you have a great team in place who can do good work? And the other is, do you have clients? Do you have income coming in consistently? Or you can see some income coming in the future, right? And you'll know that to some extent. Okay, I have a good network. I have these ex clients. I'll reach out to them. And I mean, that itself is the first step, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a business. So you have to ensure cash flow is king in for a business. So you have to ensure that's that in place, and then only then can you start.
Right. Uh, All right. I think that's enough questions for now. So, I think one of the last things that I want to talk about is, what are the career options within an agency, the structure or the role? I mean, we've already touched upon it briefly, but for example, let's explore that I am just a fresher, just maybe finished my BMM or something. What route should I take? Like, I mean, and I can just kind of lead into this question or the answer is that I mean certain skills that you do need is of course like communication or maybe a little bit of language because again depending on the kind of agency
Absolutely.
you're in you might need multiple skills be able to write and so and so but anything that you can kind of elaborate on in terms of the roles and structures that somebody can explore as a career in agencies.
I mean, yeah, in terms of a person being a fresher, what I would strongly advise is, I mean, how you can join an agency is reach out to your network, right? I mean, there are people who are willing to help you. You're a young person, so your peers, your seniors, or just your plain contacts who are in the marketing field, right? Reach out to them and ask them, okay, is there a vacancy? I'm interested in this. How do I go about it, right? If you're a designer or a copywriter, why can't you take up a proactive brief, right? Just you see so many ads, you see so many products, you know of so many popular brands, right? Just take up a brand, take up their product and build something, design something, create something. It could be as simple as a square post, an ad, right? That is so creative that it catches the eye of the person you're sending it to. I would also suggest reach out to your people on LinkedIn, right? I mean, there are so many people who maybe you want to be mentored by. Why don't you reach out to them, send them some of your work, and just say that, I want to be a part of your team. Are you hiring?
Yeah.
Can we talk? It's as simple as that. People usually just reach out to HRs, but why not the people who
Yeah.
are actually hiring in their teams?
Normally, I've noticed that if you reach out to them, if they can't help you, they'll at least connect you to somebody who might.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They'll connect you to the HR. Maybe they'll put in a word that, see, this guy has taken the effort to reach out to me. His work is good. Let's talk to him, right? So that's one thing. Apart from that, if you're looking to become an AM, why don't you showcase your project management skills, your organization skills by showing that, okay, I've worked in this festival or I've organized this event in my college, something like that, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have work to show, then you've probably taken part in your college fest, things like that. If you do have work to show, it could be anything like the smallest of brands, the smallest of clients, a small website, or a social media project that you've done. Something. I mean, it's best to show some work with your resume, right? It's always ideal. Or maybe you can just, I mean, even if you're an account manager or an account executive, something that you're looking
Yeah.
for, you can also think of campaigns, right? I mean, who's stopping you? Ultimately, you have to be creative in a creative field like marketing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
So yeah, so
that's
build
I
a
yeah,
portfolio essentially. And I mean, this is
absolutely
something I share with people that, if you're struggling and like a lot of people and especially youngsters, talk about, okay, I'm not able to get a job or I'm not able to find an internship.
correct, correct,
Um, offer to do a campaign, work pro bono for a month or so for friends and family. You will know somebody who has a business.
100%. Right.
Just run, create a page for them. If you want to get into social, create a page, start doing that. If you want to do SEO, you start, implementing some strategies for them. You want to do paid marketing, boost an ad for, somebody that and, build a portfolio or a case study out of it to then pitch to
Absolutely,
prospective
absolutely.
employers. So yeah, so those are some great tips, Mayur. All right, we have one question from Khushbu. Can you learn SEO, social media, paid marketing, content, etc., or you are restricted to only one while you're working in an agency?
I would say that yes, you will get the exposure to, as I said, see how all of these teams work and what happens in each of these teams. But I would also suggest that unless you're an account manager, you try and specialize yourself into one of those fields, right? Whatever catches your eye, whatever you have a knack for, or whatever you're interested in. You may not be interested in performance marketing as well as design, right? Maybe because performance marketing is very
Yeah,
analytical and it has its own, knowledge that you need. Whereas design is something that's maybe by instinct, by talent, and you have that, right? So it's just best to specialize in one of these because these fields
yeah,
in themselves have become so advanced that, I mean, you're having teams doing each of these, right? In terms of the structures also, if you see, now there's account management, there's social media management, there is design, there is copywriting, performance marketing, SEO. Under all of these, there are so many layers and designations that I feel you just have to choose one because if you're an account manager, yes, you might know all of that, but it's just knowledge that you need so that no one takes you for a ride, or just
yeah.
in front of the client, you know what's going on, right? But
I
then if
think,
you're in
yeah.
any of the other fields, you have to deep dive and you have to dedicate yourself to that field.
Yeah, and just to add to this, I think initially there was, at least early 2010s, there was this thing that you should be a generalist, and that's the way to grow. But I think within the last couple of years, we've seen that being a specialist helps because, like you said, like each of these verticals have grown so much within themselves, and there's so much to do, right? That being a
Absolutely.
specialist, especially maybe after a year or two of, getting that little bit of experience, dipping your toes in every little field, you might grow faster if you're a specialist and you know what it is that you can sell or offer to any brand or agency or client or anything. So all right, we'll move on to the next question. Okay, Apurva wants to know what's the best brand you worked on. If you can tell us without, I mean,
Ooh.
taking names or any campaigns that you've done that might have been fun.
Yeah, I don't mind taking names, absolutely. I mean, it's a good thing. So I would definitely talk about Harman Professional. It's the parent brand of JBL and AKG on the professional side of things. And I mean, it's just some great work, some great content, new content pieces rather that we've as an agency have come up with. And it's a lot of great work going on. The client is great with us, and we're, we've grown the account in the agency very well, right? Because of this. So we share a great rapport, and there is not just online but also offline work, and it's a lot of work that we've been able to showcase for such a large brand, right? That they've trusted an agency of our size to take it on. I think hands down, Harman Professional has been the best brand that I've had.
Awesome. All right. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to take one last question from Khushbu. I just completed a social media marketing course. Which role should I start within an agency? I think that would depend on the skills, but yeah,
Exactly. It depends on the skills and the interests that your life. So I think more than the course, okay, the course is good for knowledge, but what do you want to actually do, right, in your career? Do you want to be a designer or a copywriter? Are you able to come up with great ideas? And that's when you would look at becoming a copywriter. If you're looking to manage projects, then account manager, of course. We spoke about that. So yeah,
yeah.
I think more than the course, it's about where your interests and skills lie.
All right. So on that note, I think, and in the interest of time, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much, Mayur. For joining this live, for being part of marketinglaunchpad.co. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell everybody who's joined in that they can get mentored by you directly on our platform. So they can pretty much just DM us, and you can connect with Mayur, have one-on-one sessions, pick his brain, learn from him, and yeah, and be in touch with him. And yeah, thank you so much, Mayur. Thank you everybody who's joined in and asked us questions, commented. It's been great to have your support.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Devika, to have me on this great platform that you've built, as I said. And thank you to everyone who's joined in. Thank you for giving us your time and your viewership. It's been great. It was a lot of fun.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you so much.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening ahead.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.